Our mission statement is every student counts, every moment matters. And again, trying to hold back the emotion. It's words on paper to some people, but my message to our staff is it can't just be words on paper. Like every kid we see every single day, even if you don't have kids at home, you need to treat it like it's your own kid at home. And I see it every day. I mean, I mentioned that to you before we got on here about the situation we dealt with today. I saw teachers talking to kids that weren't even in their class about how it's going to be okay. Like, we're going to get this all figured out. We'll find a safe place to go continue learning. And it's just really cool to see everybody buy in and for the same reason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Chris Miesner. Chris is the superintendent at Sparta Community Unit School District 140 in Sparta, Illinois. Chris, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Chris, tell our listeners a little bit about you and a little bit about Sparta Community Schools.
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Chris Miesner. I've been in education now for 18 years. I started out as a junior high math and science teacher in Red Bud, Illinois, a town about 20 minutes from here. I've been in Sparta now for 8.
Awesome.
And in Sparta, I started out as a principal at 2 of our elementary schools, and then I became superintendent 3 years ago.
Fantastic.
And if you would have asked me 18 years ago if I would have thought I would have been a superintendent, the answer would have been no. I thought I was going to teach and coach my entire career, but I'm very blessed with where we're at, and I've got a strong community and a strong school board. So I'm very thankful to be sitting in this seat.
It's so interesting because I have heard that so many times from superintendents. It's like, I just thought I was going to be an educator and that was what I was going to do. And then, you just realize that you can make a bigger impact. And like me, I thought I was going to be an SLP for the rest of my life. I still am, but I don't, we never stop being a teacher or an educator. But boy, that's so true. And it's just, and the fact that you've got 8 years there, that's amazing. So they're lucky to have you, I'm sure.
Well, I'm lucky to have them too.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about Sparta.
So Sparta is a pre-K to 12th grade district made up of 3 buildings. We're just, I'd say, an hour south from St. Louis, Missouri. We have 1,100 students total, 2 very different elementary schools. One that's 15 and a half miles from me, and it's a K through 8th grade building at 105 students. So it's a very small rural elementary school that feeds into our high school. And then Sparta Lincoln School is where the district office is located. And it's a pre-K to 8th grade building, and they have close to 765 students in it. So very different sizes, and they both feed into Sparta High School, which is across the parking lot from my office.
And how many kids do you have in the high school?
At the high school, they have just around 300.
So do you find it hard for the little ones that are coming up from the smaller district to kind of acclimate into a bigger district? Or do you guys prepare them for that?
We try to. I mean, anything that we can think of as far as unifying the 2 elementary schools has always been a goal of mine. But that building being much smaller, it has differences and similarities. We try to keep our curriculums the same. We try to teach them the same scope and sequence, but yeah, it's a different feeling. It's a different experience for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're growing up in it, you don't realize. I grew up in Grand Island, Nebraska, and I don't remember how many elementary schools, but then we went from and elementary back then for us, and I don't know, maybe they still do it. No, I know they don't do it the same way, was K-6. And then 7th, 8th, and 9th grade was the middle school. Now we're talking 41 years ago, I think now. I graduated in 85. So yeah, 41 years ago. And then from the 2 middle schools, then we came together in the 1 high school. And, so we were always rivals in the middle school. And then you get up to the high school and, they did a really good job of blending us together. Plus we had brown and gold and we had orange and purple. So then it was purple and gold at the high school. So everybody got a piece of it to come with them. So super fun.
Yeah, and we're bulldogs at the high school, so we always say once a bulldog, always a bulldog. But the 2 elementary schools are 2 different mascots, so that's part of the unifying too. Like when they get promoted from 8th grade to the high school, we tell them in the promotion ceremony, like, you are now a bulldog. And then at high school, they say that phrase that I said earlier: once a bulldog, always a bulldog.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very
But yeah,
good.
I've seen different, even in this area, there's different structures. You have early elementary buildings, you have uh, intermediate buildings, you have junior high buildings. But in our district, it's always been we did used to have more attendance centers way back 20 years ago, but it's just the three now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So what are some of the things that would make Sparta stand out or shine? I want to give you an opportunity to brag on your district.
well, so many things. I mean, we've academically since, well, it helped when I came into this role that I was a principal at two of the schools. So I
Mhm.
came in knowing a better idea how I can help faster. Um, so we really tackled our school improvement process, our MTSS process, which multi-tiered system of supports. And in doing that, have implemented a phonics curriculum for our early elementary kids that in 3 years' time, we've seen our numbers of third grade students who didn't know how to read, that number has significantly improved. And in fact, this year with our phonics curriculum, we had kids, I'm going to say, graduated out of phonics, and now they're, instead of learning to read, they're reading to learn. And so that's a huge accomplishment. We all hang our hat on that and we brag about it as much as we can. In addition to that, we did a hard look at our math instruction. We started out with K-8 and we implemented a new math curriculum last school year. Already seeing gains. We thought we would have an implementation dip in the state
Oh
scores,
yeah.
but our
Mhm.
state scores at Sparta Lincoln especially, we were one of two schools in our ROE, our regional office area, that showed growth on the state assessment.
Uh-huh.
So huge progress for us there. Outside of that, like I said earlier, school improvement process has been a huge step for our district. We've implemented, before it was like something we talked about, but we didn't really live by it. Now we have a strategic plan, a mission and vision that we live and stand behind, and that's pushing us forward, I feel, with where we're going with our academics. And then outside of academics, our extracurriculars have blossomed tremendously. And they always say, like, if your high school sports are excelling, that just makes everything else, the community buys in, and there's a lot of excitement. And that's what we're living in right now. Our basketball team just finished 30-5. Unfortunately, they didn't make it to the
Nice.
state tournament like we wanted to, but
Yeah.
they
Well,
were extremely fun to watch. And then
yeah.
our spring sports have kicked off. They're both doing baseball, softball, and track are all doing really well. So it's just really exciting. And I could talk about junior high sports alike. That we've seen a lot of success, and the community's buying in. So that excitement is really fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. You said you were a coach. What did you coach?
I coached junior high basketball and baseball and softball.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun age. They're an interesting bunch because they're like they want to be grown-ups, but they don't want to be grown-ups, and their bodies are awkward, but they're kind of figuring it out. I love that age. I love that
Well, and
age.
I always tell people, like, I had them in sixth grade, but then I coached them all the way up to eighth grade.
Okay.
So you get
Mhm.
them in sixth grade, and by the time they're eighth graders, they think they have life figured out, but they don't. But they
Yeah.
they blossom so much in that 3 year span. But
Yeah.
then it's really cool when they go to high school and come back and want to talk to you, when they, same as being a principal. Like, I would see them
Mhm.
from kindergarten. My first group of kindergartners are now um, eighth graders this year. So
Yeah.
I've seen two groups of kids at both schools just blossom into young adults, and it's really cool to see that.
Awesome. So, what would you say are some of your challenges this year?
Challenges are always finances. I mean, our
Yeah.
district fits really well. We're doing good, but we also want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money.
Mhm.
But I'm always looking for grants and opportunities to partner with agencies that help with some of the finances. The state of Illinois does a good job with. They use evidence-based funding model, which helps to spread the finances equally, or equitably, I should say. But it's always a struggle. You always want to make sure that when you're proposing something to the school board, it makes sense for the community, but it also makes sense for what's best for our kids.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
definitely a challenge. That unifying the two elementary schools is always a challenge because it's very different backgrounds, it's very different scenarios, but the kids become our high school students. So we have to
Yeah.
make sure that we're teaching them not identical, but similar. If we
Mhm.
have a second grader at Sparta Lincoln and a second grader at Evansville, we need to know that they're being taught the same because if one of them I didn't mention this earlier, but our kids are allowed to attend either elementary school no matter where they live in the Sparta school district. So we have students that live on the far opposite side of our district that chose to go to Evansville Attendance Center and we bus them there. We do
You
allow
do
that.
bus them. I was
Mhm.
like, wow, that was one thing we chose for our kids. We had school of choice and district school of choice in Michigan when we were raising our kids, and my kids all ended up having friends at Leslie High School and Leslie, Michigan. We lived in Pleasant Lake, which is actually Northwest School District, which is a bigger district, and it's a good district. But my kids I homeschooled them for part of the time, and then they were going into high school, and I was like, I like the feel. I liked it was a little bit smaller. There was more opportunity for them to do sports because it wasn't a they were in a I don't know how they go, but a different class, rating or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not this.
No, no, I know what you
you
mean.
you know what I mean? So, and my son ended up having the most incredible wrestling coach, and because he actually wanted to be a football player, and he played football, and then the coach was an assistant football coach, but he was the head of the wrestling team, and he said, "Hey, Nathaniel, come over and try wrestling," and he loved it. He lost every single match his first year, and the next year when he won. This makes me teary, it's just like seeing your kids be successful when they love something and knowing. And the first time he won, he pinned a kid and he didn't even realize he won. And I just cried. I was because I went to all of his matches because he was, it was just like you support your kids. You want your kids to be successful and you want them to. And he fought and fought and fought every year. He didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't one of those kids that like had grown up wrestling. So he learned it all and made him a better kid, better person. Sports, all of my kids were in one sport or another. None of them are superstar athletes, but it's so
Well,
important that they have that opportunity,
but it sounds like he
so
failed forward. He
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 did. He
didn't win
absolutely
at
did.
first, but he kept at it. And that
Yeah, he
that
did.
passion that you talked about
Mhm.
in that story is how I feel about Sparta. I
Yeah.
get another challenge that I thought of was it just aggravates me to no end when our community and our school gets a bad rap from something that happened 30 years ago. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, certain people in our area feel that they think Sparta is one way. And I've told every one of our kids, I've stood up at assemblies, I'll tell anybody that calls me, like it makes me angry when you talk bad about our kids and you don't even know them. And
Right.
so in fact, I get emotional too, like you were just doing about your son. Like I view our school district like you viewed your son's success and my own children's success. And I'm enriched with having staff here that feel the same way, that we want the absolute best for our kids and the community. And it's a pretty cool experience that I'm living in. You always hear about it, but you read about it in a magazine article or a newspaper article, but you don't get to live it. I'm getting to live it right now.
Yeah. We all feel it. Students are struggling more than ever with emotional and behavioral challenges. Lighthouse Therapy offers virtual, hybrid, and in-person behavioral and mental health support that builds around your school environment. Our licensed professionals are trauma informed, experienced, and trained to work with K-12 students and staff. You don't get a cookie cutter approach. You get a partner who listens, adapts, and builds trust. Because when students feel safe and seen, they thrive. Learn how you can get support at your school at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together. And that's what Brighter Together is about too. It's like too many times in the media, all schools, it's like we're going to put all schools in one bucket because one teacher did one horrible thing and it's sensational. And so we're going to apply it to every single school in the nation. And it's like, that is not what's happening in education. And that's why we do this, right? We give you guys an opportunity to talk about your schools and to talk about the wins and to talk about the love that you have for your students and your teachers and your classrooms. And so tell me a little bit about like what is your leadership philosophy? How do you it sounds like you have an amazing team. I would love for someone to hear about how you foster that for your team.
So what I try to do is I'm part of the team. When I first my first year here, it was like everybody that talked to me, they're like, "Well, you're the superintendent, like you make the decisions and we just do it." I know I believe and I want to hear what you guys think, and if it makes sense to me, let's try it. So
Mhm.
I spent my whole first year teaching my principals, it's your building. I'm here to support you, and if I'm supporting you effectively, you're going to support your teachers effectively, and they're going to be able to help their kids. And so I've never gone away from that model. Now, are there times that I have to go in and make tough calls, or if there's a debate going on and I have to be the draw or
Be the
the break
mediator.
the
Yep.
draw?
Yep.
Yeah, I've had to do that. But for most of the time, I want our people to live their personality and live out their passion to be servant leaders, and I don't need to get in their way. And
Mhm.
um, thankfully, the school board that I have follows that same suit. They understand that they hired me. I brought recommendations for them to hire the principals and so on and so forth. So they now do they have questions? Absolutely, absolutely. And I want them to. I want them to have
Mhm.
questions and be as transparent and open to understanding what's happening in our district as possible. But they know they hired me. I bring recommendations and then they either agree with the motion or don't. That's part of their
Mhm.
job as a board member. But overall, my philosophy is to support and be a servant leader the best I can, but I don't need to be a micromanager by any means.
Yeah, it doesn't get you anywhere. You
No.
don't and you end up running yourself ragged, and then you lose these beautiful minds that you have that you've instituted into these positions if you don't listen to them, right? It's just so that's awesome. So here's a question I sometimes ask. I used to ask it all the time, and I don't always anymore, but I want to ask you because I know you're going to have a great answer. So if you could, and we can't talk about money because everybody knows schools are underfunded and there is not enough. And superintendents do, you guys have one of the hardest jobs, I swear, just figuring out money and managing it and being able to keep a balanced budget. Holy moly, I don't know how you do it. Um, we were talking about taxes just before we started. I signed my taxes today. I was like, it's like and I'm good with numbers. I really am, but taxes drive me crazy. But anyway, I digress. If you could just one thing, if you could pick one thing in your world as a superintendent that is just a thorn in your side or something that you see that needs to change and you could fix it and never have to worry about it again, what would that one thing be?
And you took finances off
I did.
the
Yeah,
table.
because everybody would say finances if we could if we could all fix it, that would be everybody's because it is absolutely an issue.
Well, you said thorn in my side, and I don't the things I keep running through my mind, they're not thorns in my side, but there are
Well, it doesn't
challenges
have to be.
and
It doesn't
concerns
have
that
to be.
we
Yeah, just a challenge. What was the first thing besides finances that came into your mind when I asked that question?
uh, support.
Okay. How?
And it's more like it's all encompassing. So
Okay.
you have, let's start with families. So
Mhm.
we want to support families the best we can with as many resources as we have, but we also want them to support us. And some families do, some families don't. Opinions vary, but I don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing our community because I'm not. But
No, I don't. I
then
don't think that you are.
then support would. I know there's a lot of research out there that if you have a support system around a kid, whether no matter what they've gone through in life, they're going to be resilient and able to do amazing things academically and in their future.
Mhm.
So when I'm thinking of support in that realm, it's every kid having the same level of support at school
Mm,
and at home.
nice. Yeah, that's a good
After
one.
that, I'd say like just support from our local government, support from our federal government, support
Mhm.
from even in our Illinois does regional offices of education, so support from them, which we have, but just you can't have enough support.
Right.
And
That's a
like
great
I just
answer.
mentioned, for our principals and our teachers, like I try my best to support them. I might not always agree with them, but
Mhm.
I try my best to support them because if I know they're supported, then they can support our kids. And
Right.
that's why we're here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
That's the bottom line, right? We're here to support the kids, to teach the kids, to help the kids to be successful, and that's your job. And it doesn't even sound like it's a job. It sounds like it's a mission for you, which is fantastic. Because you put the kids in front of everything. That's what we do here. It's funny because when we talk about success at Lighthouse, we don't talk about how much money's in the bank. We don't talk about how many contracts we have or how many sessions we've provided. We talk about students. How many students have we served this year? And I am so proud to say it's over 3,700 now. And when I started 8 years ago, it was me as the SLP, and we had one OT. And at the end of the year, we hired a school psychologist to do an assessment for us, and we had 48 kids 8 years ago. This is our 8th year. We'll be 8 years old in July, but it's just been a beautiful ride, just supporting kids and helping schools to meet needs. And again, same thing as it's like you put really amazing people around you and you support them. And there are definitely times where you have to make those tough choices, but you love on the kids, and it's all about the kids. So
yeah.
I love that.
Our mission statement is every student counts, every moment matters.
Mm,
And
awesome.
again, trying to hold back the emotion. It's words on paper to some people, but I have my message to our staff is it can't just be words on paper. Like every kid we see every single day, even if you don't have kids at home, you need to treat it like it's your own kid at home. So, and I see it every day. I mean, I mentioned that to you before we got on here about the situation we dealt with today. I saw teachers talking to kids that weren't even in their class about how it's going to be okay. Like we're going to get this all figured out. We'll find a safe place to go continue learning, and it's just really cool to see everybody buy in and for the same reason.
Can we tell them what happened? Because they're gonna ask me if we don't tell
Yep. Sorry.
them.
We had a water leak in our second and third grade hallway, and everybody's fine, everybody's safe, but we had a
Yeah,
little hiccup with our school day, and
yeah,
I was telling before we got on, like that's not what I thought I would deal with when I went to work this morning, but
yeah.
it happened,
It's
and
okay. Yeah.
thankfully everybody's safe and everybody
Yeah,
has running water,
buildings
so we're good.
buildings have to be maintained, don't they? And sometimes they tell you when you miss something or when something gets older. We were just fixing our dryer the other day, and it was like, "Oh my goodness." So, but yeah, it's just a part of life. Buildings, especially if how many buildings do you guys all have?
Uh,
1, 2,
well, so
3.
this building, Sparta Lincoln, is well, actually, all of our buildings are older buildings, but we've just kept adding on to them at
Okay.
different
Mhm.
phases. So
Mhm.
this actually, the part of the building today is the oldest part, and the pipe just broke in half. And thankfully, it was in a restroom where it was coming out of the wall, so we could cap the pipe and isolate the leak in that one space. But initially, they turned the water up to the whole building, so my principal was freaking out that we would need to dismiss early, but we made it. We were able to get the water back on, bathrooms and running water, and it was all good.
But what
And
a
they're all
great experience for the kids to realize too that it's okay. We have a problem, but you have good people and adults around you who understand it and can help, and school will go back to school. And what a
yeah,
story we have to tell now for
yeah.
that day, right? Very
Yeah,
cool.
those are things the kids won't ever forget. Remember that
Right.
time we had to eat lunch somewhere else because they moved us out of our classroom? And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are fun times. Fun times. Yeah. Okay, well, tell us where people would go, Chris, if they want to learn a little bit more about Spartan Community Unit School District 140.
Our website's a great place. We've tried to enhance that, sparta140.org.
Got it.
Um, we're also on Facebook channels. I'm not on there, but my secretary runs our Facebook.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, that's probably the best place to see what's going on in Sparta.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it has been a pleasure, Chris, to have you on the show. Thank you for your time. And go Bulldogs.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.